Hey, how you doing? This is Steve the Lemon Sauer coming to you once again from South Florida, where today we had a pretty historic interview take place with Robert Plant, Jason Bonham, and the Paul and Young Ron Show. So, what's your verdict on today's historic radio interview? I'd like to hear from you all, but to kick things off, I'll give you my impressions. I think this was a major coup and a grand success. Today we were afforded a very rare opportunity to witness a conversation between Uncle Bob and Little Jason. When else do we get to hear any two members of Led Zeppelin chatting with each other? Today we had Jason telling stories about his past, Robert offering some sage advice about musicians and their inherent freedom, Jason saying he'd be there when Robert performed, Robert saying he'd be there too at his own show, that is. Jason, starting to plug another band of his and not even being able to say the full name of the band before Robert cuts him off, laughing that here he is calling from a continent away to help Jason promote some of his projects. I think today's interview was a major success for everybody. Robert got to discuss at great length what the Band of Joy will sound like and why he's reviving that name from 40-some odd years ago. Jason got to plug his two bands. The radio show got people from all across the country to listen in today on the live feed online. You knew that was going to happen. You get Robert Plant and Jason Bonham there on the same day at the same time. And we, the listeners, got to hear some amazing conversation and insights. Of the insights expressed today, what I thought was most significant was this: Robert's statement about pushing forward and not repeating things forever. He didn't even have to field any Led Zeppelin reunion rumors outright, and they didn't force him to explain why he doesn't want to reunite Led Zeppelin. It just came out naturally through conversation, and that was great. We all do what we want to do, said Robert. Today he made it clear that he just doesn't want to reunite Led Zeppelin. He prefers trying out other things. Whenever you make that kind of statement alone, the question can then come up, if that's true, then why not try out new things with Led Zeppelin? And I think Robert even gave the answer to that today just by talking with honesty about what it is he's trying to do with his new band. That's when he said the thing about needing the female voice in what he's trying to accomplish, how it's an important part. Whether it was Alison Krauss a few years ago or Patty Griffin this year, that's what Robert's exploring now, along with some strong guitar sounds and two other vocalists singing along. A four-piece rock band can't accomplish everything Robert wants to do. It's a limiting format. And yes, he'll be doing Led Zeppelin songs live. He said as much today. He did say he'd be trying out some Zepp material he'd never done before in concert. I was glad to hear that the show's Paul Castronova was interested in pushing for some examples, but I take it Robert didn't hear that question because he just, moved on and without answering it. Robert says he wants to offer a good mix of songs we've heard before and songs we haven't heard before. Robert didn't address it in one concise statement saying, yes, there will be new material on my album, but that's the feeling that I get. As far as playing those Zeppelin songs live, one of the biggest criticisms that I hear from a lot of Zeppelin fans is how he comes out with a new reworking of a song like Black Dog every time he comes out on tour. And the new arrangement takes it so far away from the original that it doesn't contain any of the same elements that were in the original. Take the last time he rehashed it for the Raising Sand tour in 2008. The song was absent John Paul Jones's signature riff. It's absent John Bonham's jerky rhythms. It's absent Jimmy Page's guitar riffs and hooks. It's even absent of any of the dynamics, personality, or charm that Robert's soaring vocals would give it on the original. It became sort of this monotonous drone with some washing guitar and straightforward, mellow, even placid rhythm. I saw them 5 times on that concert tour. I think I'm allowed to criticize it if I want. Speaking of criticism, back to Jason. He gave a pretty good response today to the criticisms that were brought up about his tour, Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin experience, and even passively mentioned those criticisms. He said, quote, "A few people have kind of made certain comments which were very nasty." So here was his chance to respond, or put the record straight, as he said. He was doing it for Dad, and he's doing it once, this 1 year only, because of the significance of the timing, it being 30 years since his father passed away. He just wants to commemorate that with 30 shows. That gave Robert the opportunity to converse with him. Why only once? If you want to do it more than once, go out there and do it. The exact quote from Robert was, "I don't know why you don't do it whenever you feel like it, to be honest, because we all do whatever we want to." That's Robert Plant's view on a musician's individual freedom. You could say, "do what thou wilt," if you want to borrow a phrase from Aleister Crowley that Jimmy Page is pretty fond of. With Robert saying what he said, he lent support and credibility to Jason's endeavor. And Robert put his name out there, puts his reputation on the line in light of the negative comments from photographer Ross Halfin, who's a close friend of Jimmy Page. Ross called Jason greedy, called him a breadhead, and basically said he had no right to be called Bonzo Jr. And it's only the press that's calling him that. Hey. Jimmy hasn't formally addressed these comments, and John Paul Jones hasn't voiced his opinion either. Jason said, quote, "I still look for their approval in everything I do and the way I play." And that's important. He'll go out there and he'll do this whether he has Jimmy Page's support or not. But he'd rather have it. This was a public plea, an appeal, saying he's not doing anything greedy. He's just doing something personal, sharing some home movies and personal memories, and some powerful music as well. It's really something we can all get behind, particularly if we've ever been to any Led Zeppelin tribute band show. As Jason pointed out, a lot of bands are out there playing the music that have no connection to what he called the Led Zeppelin family. So there was a lot said today, and no, they didn't break any huge news. Jason didn't say he was going to oust Robert Plant's drummer Marco Giovino and come out on tour with him in July. And he said he's going to be there at one of the shows. Robert didn't say he's going to come on tour with Jason. He said he's backing whatever Jason chooses to do. But there was a lot of news. One, there was a major win for everybody involved. And congratulations go out to whoever it was who concocted this idea of having the two of them on the radio together to back each other's projects. And the other message is this, and it's a question. Is there a disconnect between the way that Jimmy Page possibly views Jason's tour and the way Robert does? Robert lent his support. So far, Jimmy Page hasn't. And for all we know, Jimmy's refusal to respond to his friend Ross Halfin's criticism could signal his implicit endorsement of that criticism. Jimmy might think Jason's a breadhead. So does this give any indication of a feud between Jimmy and Jason? Or does it give more of an indication of a feud between Jimmy and Robert? Or should we just not be reading this far into it at all? Your comments on this video are most welcome. Leave them on YouTube. Seek out the Lemon Squeezings page on Facebook and let us know what you think. Send me an email, steve@ledzeppelinnews.com. A lot has happened in the world of Led Zeppelin news this week. The rumor that the band might reunite and appear at the Glastonbury Festival in England next month has faded. But there's a lot that hasn't faded. Robert Plant and Jason Bonham are pals. Jimmy Page doesn't rule anything out. Reliable old Jonesy, well, today he announced a new concert date with them Crooked Vultures to take place July 28th in Tokyo. There's still so much going on with these guys, and I want to hear from you. Let's engage in a conversation. So from Lemon Squeezings, this is Steve the Lemon Sauer saying, rock and roll.